Right. Here we go. And we are live. Um, Good evening, everyone, or, morning or afternoon, depending on when and where you're watching this. My name is Dr. Callan Stittelberg from Trillium Spinal Care right here in Rochester, Minnesota. We're going to talk tonight, or today, or whenever it is you're watching this. We're going to be talking about the immune system. We're going to talk about some very important parts to keep in mind when discussing, when being concerned about immunology, when being concerned about disease and response to disease, just what your body can do to keep you safe and how it keeps you safe, and what are things that we can focus on that are within our control, outside of our control, that sort of thing. How do we set ourselves up for success working with the immune system, with the nervous system, rather than, like I said, focusing on things that really aren't going to help us a whole lot. So tonight we'll be taking a high level overview, looking at a bunch of different specifics in regards to the functioning of your immune system. So as always, at the end of it, we'll be drawing five chocolate shop gift cards right here or not here, but next door in Manorville, Minnesota, where they have the chocolate shop. It's all that hand dipped homemade chocolate, the real deal kind of stuff that they'll ship to anywhere in the continental US. So it's absolutely worth the wait to see if you win or not, and make sure and share the health talk if you want a chance to be entered to win. So we'll be giving away some of these. Then next month we'll be remember, the first Tuesday of every month we'll be having a health talk. The next one will be on cerebrospinal fluid and neurodegenerative diseases. So one more time, cerebrospinal fluid, that's the liquid that gets into and out of the brain with each pump of the heartbeat, and neurodegenerative diseases, which are things like Alzheimer's or MS or ALS, any of these sort of things where essentially the central nervous system or the peripheral nervous system, basically the nervous system, starts to degenerate or not work properly for some reason. And so we'll be discussing that more in detail next month. So tune in for that as well. And like I said, make sure and share and like, and you can get entered to win. If you do share, make sure and let us know, so that way we can make sure that you're entered into to win. So right away, we'll just get started. Like I said, I want to talk about the immune system. We don't want to talk about anything specific, COVID related or anything like that. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but one thing that we can rely on is our body has an innate intelligence, and it has an ability to fight off disease. So best thing that we want to do is accentuate that. How do we allow the body to operate to the optimum of its ability, and then potentially even improve upon it? Take that potential and go up a step. How do we do that? So what are the things that we're going to focus on? So one of the best things we can do is have at least a decently solid understanding of how the immune system works. What does that look like for us? So first of all, there's three different, generally agreed upon, three different levels of the immune system. Okay. It goes from least specific to most specific. It's important to recognize that the first two levels, kind of the outermost edges of the levels of our immune response, in the words of Keith Wasung, it would be like that first level would be like the outermost wall of the castle, back in medieval days. So how do we, so if we're looking at that, the closer that we get towards the king, inside of the castle, inside of the keep, the more specific we get. So that first level of defense is the least specific. It's going to be things like your skin, and it's going to be like hair follicles. It's going to be, sweat and the enzymes that is inside of the sweat. Because if you think about it, there's billions and billions of bacteria and viruses and fungi and parasites all over our body, inside and out. So how does our body live in harmony with those things? One of the things that it does, it has this protective mechanism of our skin covering our body. So one of the first things that an invader has to do is get past that first level. So it's going to go through an open orifice. Now, all of our open orifices that are designed to be open, like our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, any of these has mucus inside of it. The functions of that mucous membrane is exactly what you would expect. It would be to catch these invaders and then dispose of them. You get a runny nose, your body's trying to get rid of something that's going in through there. You start coughing something, you're coughing something out that was trying to get in. So that first line of defense, very non-specific, but find the bad guys, or you don't even find the bad guys. Just make it difficult for something to take hold, something to get inside. Because if it can get past that first line of defense, if it can get past that first wall of the castle, now it's on to the next step, right? So what's that second layer? Well, that second layer is going to be things like non-specific phagocytosis, meaning these cells that essentially gobble up anything. It's almost like kind of like a Pac-Man, how you just eat all kinds of stuff. You just eat all the stuff and you just dispose of it. You're not really determining what exactly, you just know this cell is not part of the body, or sometimes it will eat things that are part of the body if it's like a damaged cell sort of thing, but it's going to be these all sorts of different cells are eating all sorts of different, whether it's a bacteria, virus, all that kind of stuff. It's this phagocytosis is essentially just the cell engulfs something, brings it in, and it kills it. Another thing that's that second line of defense is like changing our body temperature. So for instance, if we have a fever, or if all of a sudden we get really cold, if we have these fluctuations in body temperature, we make it very difficult for whatever that disease process is to take hold. Our body knows that we're incredibly resilient. We have the ability to live in all sorts of extreme conditions, and it is kind of hedging its bet, assuming that whatever this invader is does not have the same capability to adapt to its environment like our body does inherently, with that innate intelligence to adapt to the invader. That's why we have things like, you get a spike in your fever. If the body is, if it doesn't get to a dangerous level, of course, but if the body's allowed to operate like it should, we'll beat that, and then your body will become healthier because of that. A couple of other things that it would be doing, like inflammation. If we have, if you get like an acute, infection, if you get cut by something and all of a sudden you notice that there's a bunch of, reds, say there's a cut, you'll have that, red around the cut. It'll be kind of sore to the touch. You can feel it. It might be like hot. That's that inflammatory response to that specific area. Now your body's doing that because it's going to send a whole bunch of very specific nutrients and a bunch of specific cells to that area to then take care of whatever it is that broke through the skin there. So that's another one of those. It's still that second layer, because it doesn't really matter what it is that invader is. Your body's going to send stuff there to just dispose of it. So that's how your body is defending against that, breaking that first level and getting into the second level. It's that very specific inflammatory response. Now, the third level is where we get specific. So according to different immunologists, like the Pasteur Institute, which is well known as being, kind of the father of modern immunology, Louis Pasteur is, from that French Pasteur Institute, they said over 98% of our immune response is non-specific, meaning we don't have the cells that are the B cells and the T cells and the antibodies that are identifying a specific invader, a specific bad guy, and saying, "Oh, we've seen him before. Let's get him again." That not over 98% of that is that first and second layer of defense, where it's that non-specific reaction. So that's why it's important to make sure that your cells are functioning properly. Just, obviously the immune system is controlled by the nervous system. The nervous system controls the function of all the cells in the body. And obviously those cells would be, the immune system cells would be included in all the cells of the body. So making sure that those cells are functioning properly would help allow that first and second layer of defense to operate at its best. So like I said, that third layer would be the T cells and the B cells. It would be those very specific antibodies that said, we've seen this virus or this bacteria before. We've seen this parasite. We recognize it. We're going to go after it and we're going to kill it. It's kind of like the SEAL Team 6 of your body. Works really, really well to kill these specific bad guys. But you wouldn't want your SEAL Team 6 to be, helping out, doing like traffic work, or you wouldn't want them, writing tickets for illegal parking. You would want your SEAL Team 6 to be doing very specific work. They wouldn't be able to keep up with, obviously the number of SEAL Team 6 operatives is much, much smaller than the number of traffic cops. So that's kind of a decent analogy to understand why you wouldn't want your SEAL Team 6 to be, running around, right, pulling over speeders or writing, parking tickets and that sort of thing. So they're there for a specific purpose. Let them do their job. But more importantly is focusing on that 98% of that immune response rather than that extremely specific less than 2% of that immune response. So hopefully that makes sense. The other part of it is we've touched on this before, but I always feel like you can't touch on it too much. Your body has an innate intelligence that has the ability to heal itself. It is extremely intelligent. It's much, much more intelligent than we are. We just have to be smart enough to recognize it. And we have to make sure that our body is operating with that nervous system the way that it's supposed to. Of course, your autonomic nervous system controls everything on a millisecond to millisecond basis. So making sure that this is functioning properly is of the utmost importance. It's important to remember that if you have a fever, you have a fever for a reason. If you have diarrhea, if you're vomiting, if you've got the chills, if you're extremely exhausted and fatigued, all these things are happening for a reason. Your body is fighting something and it just wants help. If you're tired, take a break, take a nap, go to sleep. If you have diarrhea, clearly your body's trying to rid itself of something. Now, of course, taken to the extremes, any one of these symptoms can be, dangerous and potentially lethal. Vast majority don't get to that point. Obviously, if it were to get to that kind of scary place, then you would want to do something for it emergency-wise. But typically, generally speaking, our symptoms of, for instance, vomiting, we're doing it for a reason. Our body is trying to get rid of something, sneezing or runny nose. Our body is using that mucous membrane to get rid of something that has gotten into it. So the best thing you can do, allow the body to function like it should. Just because you have symptoms does not mean that's a bad thing. We have such a focus on the symptoms, but many times these symptoms are absolutely imperative for our body to be healthier. And the other part of it is our immune system gets stronger, it gets more intelligent, it gets more resilient once we come into contact with something, and then we survive it. We get on the other side of it. Our body is that much healthier. There's reams and reams of research on that. Your immune system gets stronger. It's like a trial by fire. So the more antigens that it comes into contact with, the stronger it gets. That's why I'm assuming most people have probably seen that there's lots of new and kind of groundbreaking studies talking about how if you had, for instance, a natural infection to COVID, guess what? You have, it seems anyway, with a lot of the early signs on the research, that we have a longer immune response. We have longer learned immunity if we've had an actual natural infection. Any of us who have spent any time looking at immunology, we aren't surprised by this, but it's good that the research is showing that, guess what? Your body is extremely intelligent. It's incredible what it can do. Just let it do its job and make sure that the nervous system is functioning the way that it should. Because if the cells can't communicate like they're supposed to, our body is not going to have that response that it should. And we won't go into other stuff like allergies and hyper response and that kind of thing. But just know your immune system, when it's functioning at its best, it's going to have the non-specific immune response is going to be what keeps you safe all day long. So let's focus on things that we can control rather than, things that we can't, and getting all the stress and anxiety. And that's only going to make us less healthy in the long term. So obviously eating well, getting sleep, because you need to rest, you need to recover, exercise, because then you're allowing the body to get stronger. And then, of course, like I said, chiropractic care, specific chiropractic care done correctly, allow the nervous system to communicate with the body, control the body like it controls every function of the body, but allow it to do what it does without any of that interference. It's extremely important. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment. Like I said, if you share it, let us know. Put that in there as well. And then, like I said, we'll see you next time. But first, we're going to draw 5 names here for some Chocolate Shop gift cards. So first one we'll choose here. Terry Allred, congratulations. We've got a Chocolate Shop gift card with your name on it, Terry, literally. And we've got Lee Barb. Awesome. Jordan's aunt, I believe. Awesome. Very cool. We'll get you entered there, or we'll get one sent to you, Lee. D. Rebel. Awesome. Congrats, D. We've got 2 to go. Oh, what's this one here? Abby Lee Christensen. Congratulations, Abby. We will get one sent your way. And the last one, let's see who we've got. Derek Riescraft. Congratulations. This is my sister's new husband. Congratulations. It's a nice little wedding present, late one. So that's it. We got 5 winners for this week. So like I said, make sure and share it, and tune in next month where we'll be talking about cerebrospinal fluid and the neurodegenerative diseases and what that means for your body. A lot of people are concerned about, for instance, Alzheimer's and what's that look like going forward. And we'll be talking about things that you can do to allow your body to heal naturally and make that not as much of a concern. So you guys have a safe night, day, morning, wherever you're at. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And see ya.